Welcome to Saltier Adam Oslin. Adam, thanks for coming in and hanging out.
It's good to be with you guys. The salt is here as the playoffs approach. Let's go.
All right. Let's just get right to it. Before we get to the Lakers, now there's a train of thought that the Clippers could be giving some people trouble in the playoffs.
Yeah, how about that, Freddie?
Yeah, how about that?
Even though they didn't bring back your guy and Paul George this season, it seems like they made the right move in holding on to Kawhi Leonard, because with him playing at this level, you got a shot against anybody. And that's what it's been. The last 19 games, they have won 16 of 19. They've won 6 in a row. They have 2 winnable games. And if they win out, they'll at least be the 5 seed in the Western Conference. With a little bit of help, they could end up being the 4. I don't think they could be the 3 because the Lakers just need 1 win in their last 2 games to get that. But this Clippers team is surging. They can make the case right now, guys, that this is the best they have ever looked entering the postseason. This is the hottest they've ever been. According to net rating, the advanced analytics, just how good they've been on both ends of the floor with Kawhi playing at this high of a level. James Harden's playing his best basketball of the season. And Ivica Zubac is playing the best basketball of his career right now. He is legitimately a top 5 center in the league. He just came off his first triple-double ever. This team is peaking at the right time.
Yeah, I was going to ask you about James Harden. A lot of skeptics and a lot of people felt that maybe it wasn't a good move. He's beyond. Say that again. Yeah. But again, playing at a high level, making some big shots at critical times, man. Just talk about his performance and his importance to this team. I know we talk about Kawhi and he's got to stay healthy, but James Harden is equally as important.
No, I think he's been the MVP for them this season because he has given them a floor. He's given them a system offensively. He calls himself a system or the system, but that's who he's been in this league. He's a top 75 player ever. He's never missed the playoffs. There's a reason for that. His teams have always been competitive because he runs that high pick and roll to perfection. A lot of Big Zoo's growth and development, you can attribute that to James Harden and just how well or how much he has helped him in that area. But he's turned into a much more efficient player over the last month and a half now. Since Kawhi came back and is playing this well, it's taken James Harden off the ball a little bit. It's less taxing for him, so his shooting percentages are up. Last 19 games, he's at 38% from the outside, 46% from the field. But he leads them in points per game on the season. He has been so reliable for them. You can make the argument because of his defense, Ivica Zubac maybe has been the MVP this season. But I would say I would lean slightly towards James Harden being that guy for the Clippers. He's been so important. There's a reason he was an all-star. I think he has a case now to be third-team All-NBA. He's been a top 15 player in the league this year.
Okay, so as we get into the final games, when it all shakes out, where do you think the Clippers finish?
I think somewhere between 5 and 8. No, I will pick them to be the 5th seed where they are currently. Because if they win out, that's where they will be. And Denver has a chance to win out, too. They take on Memphis tonight in Memphis. What the Clippers would need is Denver to lose a game and for them to win out to be the 4 seed. And I think Denver has righted the ship to some degree. I don't know that for a fact, but Memphis has gone a back-to-back tonight in Denver. It's going to be tough for them to get the victory there. Nikola Jokic was drawing up plays the other night against the Sacramento Kings with David Adelman now as their head coach. I mean, I think they're trying to rally around the fact that they've been through all this, turmoil and just tumultuous time there with the firing of Mike Malone and Calvin Booth. So I think it's most likely for the Clippers to end up in that 5 spot. But, guys, there's a great chance they fall to 6th and they take on the Lakers in the first round because the Lakers are all but guaranteed to be that 3rd seed in the Western Conference right now. You pretty much know that. So they're taking on whoever ends up in the 6th spot. And for the first time ever, we could have the Battle of Los Angeles. It almost happened a couple times before. 2 ships passing in the night. I think this time it's real. I'd say there's like a 30% chance that we get Clippers and Lakers in the first round.
Ooh, that would be. I don't know if I would like that. I kind of like them late in the playoffs. Maybe not in the first round.
That's fair.
I'd like to see them meet later on. But when you look at this, when you look at the West, I know Oklahoma City has kind of ran away with it a little bit in the West. The Rockets have been pretty good as well. But when you look at this and stack up, and then look how the Lakers played OKC the last couple of times they played them, are are you looking at the West and going, there's a clear-cut favorite, and is OKC that, or is it stacked up to the point where you wouldn't be shocked by anybody, at least in the top 6, coming out of the West?
No, yeah, I'm kind of with you there, Rodney. At this point, I told you guys a month ago, I felt like the Lakers match up really well against OKC. They do. They have enough switchability. They don't have a big man that really punishes OKC, but OKC doesn't have that against them either. Chet Holmgren is shooting from the outside. Isaiah Hartenstein's best shot is his floater from 10 feet out. They just match up really well against them. That first victory they got in Oklahoma City, that was the worst loss the Thunder had taken all season long, and they hadn't lost 2 games in a row up until that point. And that put them in that spot where that was the second game in a row they lost. I mean, you expected them to bounce back. And while they did win the next game against the Lakers, of course, the Lakers led by 1 with 7 minutes left before Luka Doncic got ejected because some referee wanted to inject himself into the ball game. Like, that was...
He wasn't talking to the crowd? He didn't think he was talking to someone in the stands?
It was obvious he was talking to the fan. The fan knew he was talking to him. Everybody on the court knew it at the time, except for the one guy who gave him that technical, which was rescinded the next day. So... poor officiating there. That was an abomination. Even as somebody who's a Laker hater, I never want to see stars get ejected from games like that. But the Lakers have matchup advantages over the Oklahoma City Thunder because, as I said before, if SGA is being doubled, somebody else has to step up for them. And while they have the guys who are talented enough, in J-Dub, he was an all-star this season. He hasn't proven it in the playoffs. That was a big reason they lost in the second round to Luka Doncic when he was with Dallas last season. Like, Luka is very good against Oklahoma City, clearly. So I don't think the Lakers should be afraid of them. And while we thought because OKC has won 66 games, they're easily the best team record-wise in the Western Conference, there's not as much distance between them and the Lakers. And you could make the argument right now, the top 3 toughest teams based upon how they've been playing over the last 3 months are OKC, the Lakers, and the Clippers. Maybe throw Golden State in there as the 4th toughest team. I don't want to overlook Houston, but they have a lot of inexperience out there. They have a ton of guys that just have never been in the playoffs before. Sometimes that can be dangerous. They don't know how bright the lights are going to be. Maybe some of those guys, Amen Thompson has been great for them as of late, is a playoff riser and a killer and becomes like Dwayne Wade when he first got into the playoffs, and you saw that he had that it factor. But I don't know. I think the West is much more open than I would have said 3 months ago because the Lakers have Luka now and the Clippers are playing at a very high level.
Adam, Dan Wojcicki wrote about the Lakers' small ball lineup. They lost out on Mark Williams, but maybe Wojcicki suggests it was a blessing in disguise because the small ball lineup seems to be working.
Well, one of the big reasons when their defense for 2 months straight was the best in the NBA was that small ball lineup and that swarming, doubling, scrambling small ball they've been playing where Rui Hachimura is playing the 5. And when he's right, and he wasn't playing back-to-backs when he first came back from the knee injury, but there's no more obviously at this point, if he's 100%, he's kind of the linchpin to their small ball activity because what you have there is LeBron, Luka, Austin Reaves, who's been playing like an all-star the last 3 months, and then Dorian Finney-Smith next to Rui Hachimura. They have a ton of switchability, and when they buy in, when they are rotating correctly and helping the helper, we saw in that game in February in Denver against Jokic where he had one of the worst games of his career, and it was against that small ball lineup. And they schemed for like 3 days to get to that point where J.J. Redick said he didn't sleep. That was a huge game for them. I think they had lost 12 straight at that point to the Denver Nuggets, who obviously completely owned them. And they had this different wrinkle with the small ball defense where guys are just running around, helping one another, and doubling Jokic over and over again, even before he got the basketball. Like, that is something that has progressively been very good for this Lakers team. And they're getting back to it now because the defense had fallen off. When LeBron had the groin issue and when he first came back, he wasn't right. I still don't think he looks as good as he did before the groin issue. The outside shooting hasn't been there, but specifically defensively, they hadn't looked good until that game against Houston that they were able to get a victory. against back at Crypto. And then the 2 games against OKC, they look better with the small ball. And then the last game against Dallas, they look better. So they're getting back to those defensive principles on that end. And I think that's what makes them so dangerous. When they're flying around and playing defense like that, that's when they're at their best because the offense is going to be there. They just have too much talent on that end. When they buy in on the defensive end and they scrap like that, that's why I think the Lakers really have a chance to get out of the West.
Staying in the West, Adam, how much of a threat do you think the Golden State Warriors will be?
They're tough, but they're in a tough spot right now, too, because they play the Clippers on Sunday, and that game's on the Evil 4-letter. And if the Clippers win that game, that should put Golden State into the play-in. So as good as they have been over the last 2 months once they got Jimmy Butler, they could still end up being in a play-in matchup where anything could happen in a one-game play-in. It looks like Memphis will be the most likely team there with them in the 7th, 8th spot. But they need to win out. They need to win out to stay out of the play-in. But they're good. They are a much more complete team since they brought in Jimmy Butler. He cured a lot of what ails them. And they also got Jonathan Kuminga back, who had been hurt for some time. But now they just match up a lot better against different teams, and it's taken a lot of the pressure off of Steph Curry where he doesn't have to do everything because Jimmy Butler's giving you 20. He's a good defender out there. Draymond Green, I think, has been a shot in the arm for pretty much everybody. Draymond's playing better defense. He's back in the Defensive Player of the Year conversation. So the Golden State Warriors, to me, they're probably the 4th most dangerous team right now in the West behind OKC, the Lakers, and the Clippers, but it's real what they have going right now because I think they're starting to get vibes like they had in 2022 where things came together at the right time for them to make that playoff run to beating Boston in the finals.
Adam, did you see the comments by Austin Reaves? I thought they were really interesting.
The white boy
He says
comments?
that even he underestimates white NBA players. You know, as a white guy in the NBA, I sometimes look at white players and I'm like, they're not very good. So it's a stigma that I think is real. Do you find it interesting he said that?
Yeah, I thought that was pretty telling. I think J.J. Redick said something, too, about having to prove it all the time. I don't know. It's not, while I'm white, it's not a conversation that I've had that often over the last few years talking about NBA players because nobody's been that, I guess, transparent about it before. But, Austin Reaves, I don't care about that. Like I made a comment recently about him and talking about how well he's been playing as of late. I said this, and people thought it was a hot take at the time, and it's aging pretty well. I would take him over Devin Booker right now. I think he's been that good, and I don't know what happened to the Phoenix Suns this season. They really don't have an excuse for being this bad. But Austin Reaves, to me, because of his on-ball capabilities, creating for others and then himself, and then the way he has blended in next to LeBron, next to Luka, I think he's been playing at an all-star level and has a case to be, the best third option on any team. Because if you look at the games where Luka or LeBron have been missing, or both of them, like they had that game in Denver maybe a month ago where it was just Austin Reaves out there and Bronny, and he still, I think, dropped 35 and had them within striking distance as the first options. So even when he's had to be the main guy out there at times in games and teams have their best defenders on him, they're not stopping him. He's that good. I don't think people understand the growth we're seeing with Austin Reaves, the transformation he has gone through from the start of this season till the end of this season. I think Chandler Parsons on whatever show, FanDuel TV, said before the year, he's not going to average more than 15 points. He's been averaging 23 over the last 3 months now, efficiently, with the passing out there. And while you can hunt him out at times defensively, and he has some weaknesses there, I love Austin Reaves' game. I do think that's one of the best contracts. That is one of the best, third options, if not the best third option in the game right now. And for the Lakers to have held on to him, by the way, and not having to give him up for Luka Doncic in that trade, what a win for them. And Rob Pelinka, yeah, way to go. Thanks, Nico. I'm still bitter. I can't get over it, guys. And I told you on Tuesday exactly what was going to happen, right? He got the hero's welcome. Luka Doncic. The entire time they're cheering for him against their own team while he's playing in Dallas. That wasn't the Lions' den. That was the Cuddly Kittens' den. That was like a Care Bear den. The entire crowd was in favor of him. They wanted him to beat them. They're chanting "Fire Nico" the entire time. The Lakers at the very end with a minute and a half left, getting the crowd into it, the Luka chants, the standing ovation again at the very end. And by the way, I think those tears were real. I think that was real emotion from Luka. I don't know what Rob Parker was talking about yesterday, saying those were crocodile tears. This guy runs on emotion. He's one of the most passionate players out there. And he had the towel over his head during the tribute video. You could see he was in pain there. Maybe because he missed out on $100 million, but he'll likely get it back somehow. Maybe because he just bought a $15 million house or whatever it was. But I think a lot of that is because he truly felt like he was going to finish his career in Dallas. He was going to have a statue next to Dirk Nowitzki's, and he was going to carry on the tradition and win a championship there. Like, that was as emotional of an evening as I had seen. And for him to handle it that well at this level, drop 45. I think he started 1 for 3, and then he just settled in and took over. 7 of 10 from the outside. That is an all-time performance. And everybody in that arena knew it was coming, except the guy who traded him somehow. The guy who gets paid to make moves to better the Dallas Mavericks was the last one to find out that, maybe you don't get rid of a 25-year-old superstar like this who hasn't even really reached his prime yet. It's still shocking every time I see him in a Lakers jersey, but specifically that game, that was just an incredible night.
No doubt. For that moment, could have gone either way. We've seen it where guys put too much on themselves to go back and have a big game, and they go 1 for 80. We talk about Luka, we talk about LeBron and Austin Reaves, but talk about the job that JJ Redick's doing and has done this season, Adam, because he I think has done as good a job coaching this team as there is in the NBA this year.
Yeah, I mean, the Pat Riley talk was overblown before the season, and those lofty expectations trying to set him up to fail, that stuff was ridiculous. Look, today's NBA is different. Pat Riley might not be Pat Riley, but JJ Redick, I thought it would be a good hire because you listen to his podcast, you listen to him as an analyst, he understands the modern NBA, the positionless league it has become, the switchability you have to have out there. And my one big criticism, the most obvious one for Darvin Ham last season, and I'm not saying he did a terrible job with the Lakers or anything like that. They made a run, obviously, with him as their head coach, but last season he couldn't figure out the best 5 guys to put out there. Like, that's the kind of the bare minimum. You have to optimize lineups, and JJ Redick has been great with that while implementing a superstar of the ilk of Luka Doncic, with 30% left in the season, figuring that out. I think he deserves a ton of credit. Like, this isn't just, he got Luka and that saved him. No, they were playing great ball before they got Luka. When I mentioned them being the best defense in the league for over 2 months, that was before they got Luka, by the way. Obviously, he has deficiencies on that end. But that was with AD, without AD, with Luka, without Luka. That's scheming. That's getting guys to buy in on that end. I think JJ Redick has been able to get his message across even when they have had some downturns, they had some rough patches. He's navigated it beautifully. And I also feel like LeBron James deserves some credit because I heard from a lot of people that when they got Luka Doncic, it's not going to work. LeBron is not going to pass the torch over. He's not going to give up the basketball. He can't play off the ball. And I'm thinking to myself, guys, can't play off the ball. He's been one of the best catch-and-shoot three-point shooters over the last 2 years now. He's been playing off the ball more. He's ready for this moment. It actually helps him to not have to do everything on the offensive end. He has another LeBron on the floor with him. We've never seen 2 passers this good on the same team. 2 guys that can manipulate a defense like this on the same team. It is unbelievable, and I do think he's put his ego aside a little bit to make sure Luka is comfortable. He was helping lead those chants in Dallas the other night at the very end to make sure Luka got his due. LeBron deserves credit. JJ Redick. But again, they're going to be defined what happens in the playoffs, of course. But all that talk of, this is a move for next year. This is just a move for the next 5 years or the next 10 years. What happened in that talk? Because now the Lakers are a real contender this year.
Say it again, Adam.
Now the Lakers are a real contender this year.
They are indeed. All right, Clippers in Sacramento, 6 p.m. pregame. Adam will be there, 7 o'clock tip. You'll hear it on AM 1150. Salty A, thanks for hanging today.
Appreciate you guys. It's all love. You know it, Fred. Come on now.